Last week, the 49ers made a lot of mistakes before eventually losing to the Cleveland Browns. And there was a lot of commentary last week about how a loss like that can actually sharpen a team, something I believed the 49ers would do. But were they truly humbled against Cleveland? I don't think they were. And as a result, they came into this game continuing many of those mistakes. Now, there was some bad and there was also some good. So let's take a look at all of it. Welcome to Josh's Football Breakdowns, where we don't tell you what you're seeing. We let the film tell us what we're seeing. Now, we've got a lot of plays to look at here, so let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. We're going to take a look at the first significant third down of the ball game. And here the 49ers are in press coverage. And if we think back to the Rams game, they played a lot of coverage in that game, dropping back a lot, and Stafford was having a strong game. And then as the game went on, the 49ers tended to adjust more into press coverage, and it was very effective. But I think that's something you have to tailor to each individual opponent. The 49ers played a lot of press in this game, and we're going to see how Minnesota would attack those coverages. And here they have a plan. Here we can see the receivers blocking downfield. This is going to be a screen to the running back. But Fred Warner is really the key player on this 49er defense, and here he takes this route away. So Kirk Cousins turns his attention to the other side of the field, to their sensational rookie, Jordan Addison. But take a look at Charvarius Ward. He is in great coverage, and we see a little bit of contact there, and that's okay. You're allowed to get a little bit physical within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage as long as you don't grab and hold him. Moody Ward is in great position. Kirk Cousins really has nowhere to go with the football, but here he decides to throw it anyway. A bad decision. And the pass is intercepted by Moody Ward early in this game. Wow, what a great play. The 49ers have struggled a little bit to generate pressure this season, and on 3rd and 2, on what very well could be a running play, the 49ers line up with a 5-man defensive front. At the snap, Kirk Cousins takes a quick peek to his left and sees Fred Warner reacting to the play, and I think he decided right then that he was going to Addison. So the 49ers take possession with excellent field position, and here we can see they have 2 tight ends and a running back in the formation. This very well could be a running play. So this time it's Minnesota's turn to line up with a 5-man defensive front. Now the 49ers don't actually fake the handoff to Christian McCaffrey, but I think the personnel grouping and the formation alone were enough to hold this linebacker just for a minute at least. And when Charlie Warner goes deep, the corner goes with him. And just like that, Minnesota has left George Kittle wide open on the 49ers' first offensive play of the game. And you may not have even noticed, but George Kittle actually chips the defensive end before heading out on his pass route. And the 49ers would do little things like this to help Jalen Moore throughout this game, who was filling in for Trent Williams. After just one play, the 49ers are already flirting with field goal range, so Minnesota decides to up the ante. Here they send a 6-man blitz. And it brings up an interesting question, because Brock Purdy has been so good against the blitz throughout his entire career so far, including in this game where he was excellent against the blitz. So what should the Vikings do? Should they not blitz the quarterback? Should they play more coverage? And here's the thing, is San Francisco, they're a good football team. So they're going to be good in all situations. And when you look at it that way, if you're the Minnesota Vikings, then you should do what you feel comfortable with. Minnesota leads the league in blitzes, so they decided they were going to keep playing that style of football in this game. So the 49ers have to deal with that, right? And here they leave Christian McCaffrey in to help with pass protection. Now the fans are rightfully asking the question, why isn't Jordan Mason playing? He's such an effective runner. Well, we say it week in and week out on this channel. Being a good runner is not enough in the NFL. You have to be able to pass protect. Christian McCaffrey can do it, and that's what they have him doing here in this situation. Now that also means that Minnesota doesn't have to defend him down the field. So even though they've sent 6 men, they can still have one safety, but he can only defend one area of the field, either the left, the middle, or the right. Here they've got him on the left, so on the other side of the field, there's not going to be safety help. The man defending Brandon Aiyuk knows this, so he gives him a lot of space because he doesn't want to get beat deep for a touchdown. Brandon Aiyuk takes the space the defense left behind. And take a look at Brock Purdy. Brandon Aiyuk hasn't even started his break yet, and Purdy is already starting his throwing motion. So the 6-man blitz doesn't work. Do you dare send the 7-man blitz? Minnesota says yes. Now there are no safeties on the field. This is what they call a zero blitz, 0 safeties. So now the defenders have to give a lot of space. But this is a little bit of a trick. Minnesota isn't really blitzing with 7. They're only going to send 5. These 2 defenders are going to drop back. But it takes a little too long to develop before Jauan Jennings can get to a spot. The 49ers are marching right down the field. No Debo, no problem. They get their other playmakers involved early. George Kittle, Brandon Aiyuk, and Jauan Jennings. And Christian McCaffrey has been doing the heavy lifting, blocking on offense, so here they give him a carry. In the red zone, a terrible turn of events for the 49ers. Aaron Banks is supposed to get to the second level and block this linebacker, Jordan Hicks. But Hicks penetrates so quickly it disrupts the play. And it looks as if Minnesota might be able to string this play out. But here McCaffrey uses his outstanding athleticism and vision to turn this into a positive play. But then McCaffrey loses the football, and this is the worst possible thing that could have happened in the red zone. His second red zone turnover of the season, and that cannot continue, or the 49ers will continue to lose these games. And Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, they're so good, but man, they were driving me crazy in this game. Afterwards, they said, McCaffrey went right over and put gloves on. All right, here's the screenshot. Who's going to tell him he was already wearing the gloves? The 49ers flush a golden opportunity down the drain, and the score remains 0-0. Not what you want to do on the road. For their part, the Minnesota play design and play calling was simply outstanding in this game, and we get our first really good look at it on this play. Take a look at TJ Hawkinson pretending to block, and just watch how long he sticks with this. And this gives the Vikings the opportunity to do something to the 49ers that the 49ers like to do to other teams, which is to put 2 players into the area of 1 defender, in this case Fred Warner. And Warner really wants to make sure he gets enough depth so that Cousins can't deliver a layered throw behind him. And this opens up Hockenson. Now he's still got a long way to go to get to that line to gain, but when Hufanga comes over to take away the deep route, and with Dre Greenlaw's attention on the running back, now we see that the Vikings, through their creative play design, have opened up a lot of space for Hockenson to work with. And I think this is what takes it from a great play design to a brilliant play design. This great 49er defense was unable to stop the Vikings all night long. 3rd and 12, and the Vikings convert. And just like George Kittle on the first play, we see Hockenson chip Nick Bosa first and then go out on his pass route. It's part of the play design, and it helps to slow down that ferocious pass rush of Nick Bosa. And let's just take a minute to address the elephant in the room, which is the 49ers pass rush. I've got a few stats here we should look at. All right, Field Yates, percentage of drives a team's defense has forced a 3 and out this season. Number 1, 49ers, 50%. Wait a second. Okay, this is the wrong date. Take a look. That's from 2019, the year the 49ers went to the Super Bowl. So that would make sense. What about this season? Akash Anavarathan posted this stat. Through 7 games, the 49er defense has a pressure rate of 31.3%. That's 25th in the NFL. Not sure how that's even possible considering the resources and salary cap space allocated to the defensive line and Chris Kocurek. Yeah, excellent point. And I want to thank Field Yates and Akash Anavarathan for making their tweets publicly available. So please go support them. I'll put a link in the description. The point I'm trying to make is simple. We're seeing a clear difference in defensive line play between this season and that Super Bowl campaign from 4 years ago. And here we get another really creative play design by the Minnesota Vikings. The 49ers are in a zone. So, for instance, if Hockenson were to go deep, he would be in the zone of Moody Ward. But as it stands, Hockenson is going to the inside. This is going to be Hufanga's responsibility, and as he continues to go to the inside, Hufanga passes him off to Dre Greenlaw. But the Vikings have also sent the running back out of the backfield on a route, and now this draws Greenlaw's attention. Well, Hockenson's not stopping, so who's responsible for him? Fred Warner? He's seeing the other tight end, Josh Oliver, coming across, and that draws Warner's attention. Well, take a look at Moody Ward. He recognizes the crosser coming deep into his area and he picks him up. I would like to see Oren Burks do the same thing on the other side of the field. He's a little slow to recognize and react, and the result is a big play for the Minnesota Vikings. And let's talk about the game situation for a second. It's 1st and 10, and there's 2 tight ends and a running back in the formation. Again, this could be a run. So let's take a look at the 49er defensive line. Drake Jackson, Kevin Givens, Javon Kinlaw, and Randy Gregory. Nick Bosa is not in the game. He doesn't play every snap. Sometimes he comes out for breathers just like any other player. And the 49ers chose to do it on this play here when it looked like it could be a running play. The perfect time for Minnesota to dial up a deep shot. All game long, I felt like the Vikings just had a really good sense of what the 49ers were going to do and when. With the 49er defense on their heels a little bit, the Vikings make another outstanding play call, this time using misdirection. The 49ers are reeling, and here they're facing a 3rd down and 2, but hey, shout out to the Minnesota Vikings video department for having by far the coolest all-22 scoreboard graphic. And it looks like the design of this play is to have Jordan Addison come across for the 1st down, And that's what Dre Greenlaw is expecting. But at the last second, Addison turns upfield. Minnesota has saved their best play on this drive for last, dialing up the mismatch with their young star wide receiver against a linebacker. Greenlaw tries to recover, but his back is already turned, and Cousins just lays up an easy touchdown pass for Addison. San Francisco has really started this game out the worst way possible, with a fumble inside the red zone that the Minnesota Vikings converted into a touchdown. In an attempt to generate pressure, the 49ers sent Eric Armstead forward with the idea that Nick Bosa would be able to loop around, but the center is able to provide help easily enough. And with the focus on Bosa, Armstead, and Javon Hargrave, the Vikings are blocking defensive end Clelin Ferrell one-on-one. And on this play, Ferrell is ineffective. But the 49er offense is undaunted, firing right back. Surprise, surprise, the Vikings send a blitz. So when Jauan Jennings goes deep, the safety has to give him a lot of space. Jordan Hicks does not get great depth on this play, allowing Jauan Jennings to take the space the defense left behind. And turn your attention to the pocket. We can see that once again, Brock Purdy is already winding up to throw this football. And to help with the blitz, they leave George Kittle in. And he does pretty good with the pass protection. But watch at the end here, Brock Purdy is going to have to stand in here and take this hit. And he throws an absolute dime. But on this next play, there's a little bit of a miscommunication. Here we see Brock Purdy has already thrown this football. Here's the ball in flight, and you can clearly see Kittle running to the corner, but for some reason he stops on the route. It's a miscommunication between quarterback and tight end. Buck and Troy Aikman were driving me crazy because Aikman says Kittle stops on the route, but then in the next sentence he says the ball got away from Purdy. Well, which is it, Troy? Turning our attention back to the Vikings defensive line, on this play, Wanham is going to do whatever George Kittle does. If Kittle stays in the block, he'll rush the passer. But Kittle runs a route, so Wanham goes with him. This only leaves 3 rushing the quarterback now, but for good measure, the Vikings have also sent Jordan Hicks on the pass rush. Charlie Warner was expecting this, but here Hicks makes him look bad. Warner whiffs on the block and Hicks just goes right around him. And there's some pressure coming from the outside as well. But here Brock Purdy shows off his dazzling agility and showcases his uncanny ability to get out of trouble. Fair is fair, and Purdy made a lot of folks look bad on that play. 17-yard gain with his legs. And I left this play in. With time winding down in the first quarter, Shanahan calls a run up the middle for Christian McCaffrey that gains 2 yards. And I only show this to point out that with a guy like Jordan Mason, who you're not going to bring in on passing situations, and you have an injured running back in Christian McCaffrey right here, right before the end of the quarter, this would have been a good opportunity to get Mason a carry in the game. So at the start of the second quarter, the 49ers are now facing 3rd down and 3, which is fine. That's 3rd and manageable. But watch Jauan Jennings stumble as he comes out of his break here. And the pass is incomplete. But check out George Kittle, goes right up to him and encourages him. I love that. And with the ball on the 22, this will be an easy field goal for Jake Moody. Kicking indoors, and he missed it. So do the 49ers have a problem at the kicking position now? The score remains Minnesota 7, San Francisco 0. That's 2 chances now the 49ers have had to score and have come away with 0 points. And check out this play by Minnesota. They're going to go with the double pass here. Now, normally in this situation, you might bring a guy across like this or send a receiver deep like this, but we can see that they've clearly got nobody on that side of the field, but they've got all their offensive linemen and the running back ready to go on the far side of the field. They're going to go back to that side. But take a look up top, and we see that they are already trying to block Ward while the ball is in the air. We spend a lot of time talking about that rule on this channel. You can't block downfield while the ball is in the air. That's a penalty on the Vikings, and it would back them up, meaning this play never happened. Facing 2nd and 24, this time Nick Bosa gets an excellent pressure, and Kirk Cousins just has to flick this ball out to KJ Osborne. It's tight coverage, and Osborne makes a diving catch. Are you kidding me? Wow. Sometimes you just have to give your receivers opportunities. Now, San Francisco did come away with the interception on the first drive of the game, but then Minnesota went on a long touchdown drive after that, and they're on another long drive here. It's 3rd and 10 after the penalty and then that completion, so the 49ers would really like to get off the field here. And sometimes when you're close to your goal, there can be the tendency to force some things. I don't want to read too much into this. The 49ers send a very aggressive blitz on this play. And like I said, it just seemed like the Vikings were a step ahead of the 49ers for pretty much the whole game. They call the perfect play to take advantage of San Francisco's aggressiveness. They call the screen pass right into the heart of the blitz. And you know what? The 49ers got caught being aggressive. It can happen. So long as you learn from it and then make the appropriate adjustments. I will say I don't like this body language by the 49er defense after the play. Inside the 5. And to cap things off, the Vikings have a man wide open for a touchdown in the end zone. And Kirk Cousins misses him wide open. Wow. Kirk Cousins did have a strong game, but he also had a few plays like that, and the Vikings are forced to settle for a field goal, which Greg Joseph knocks through. And I think San Francisco has to consider themselves very fortunate to only be down 10-0 at this point in the game. Brock Purdy would continue throwing dimes. Byron Murphy gets pretty physical with George Kittle, but he's within that 5-yard zone, and eventually Kittle is going to come open. And this draws the attention of the safety, and that allows Brandon Aiyuk to get behind the defense. Just look at that throw. I mean, it looks like Kurt Warner back there. Am I wrong? And it wasn't just the throw that was great. This play happened, yes, because the defense turned their attention to George Kittle. But why did they do that? Because Brock Purdy looked them off in that direction. And from this angle especially, we get a great look of where Brock Purdy is looking and how the defense reacts specifically to that. Guys, this kid is 23 years old. Imagine the potential. All right, I don't want to spend too much time on this play because we've already looked at it. 5-man rush for the Vikings. It looks like a 7-man rush, but once again, these two guys are dropping back. The corners are giving a lot of space. Last time it was Jauan Jennings that sat up. This time it's Brandon Aiyuk. And with just a minute to go before the half, the 49ers punch it in with Christian McCaffrey. Touchdown 49ers. CMC now has 16 consecutive games with a touchdown, just one shy of the NFL record. We see them bring George Kittle around. Harrison Phillips is giving Jake Brendel all he can handle, but Jake Brendel's giving Harrison Phillips all he can handle as well. But check out the double team block of Jalen Moore and Aaron Banks. That's where Christian McCaffrey is going to run this football. San Francisco 7, Minnesota 10. And let's talk about the game situation, because we see the clock here, 30 seconds left, and the Vikings are backed up. The ball's on the 36-yard line, and the key thing to look at here is no timeouts left. This is not a realistic scoring opportunity for Minnesota, because all San Francisco needs to do is defend the sideline and defend the end zone. Any pass that's completed inbounds is actually a good thing, because then the clock will run and the half will end. Case in point, Kirk Cousins has to spike the ball to stop the clock on second down. So now it's 3rd down and 6, 16 seconds left. Again, no timeouts. And this is really easy to defend. The Vikings are only going to get one shot at this. All the 49ers need to do is just stick everybody back deep. But wait a second, what are they doing here? They've got everybody up at the line of scrimmage. Folks, this is a mistake. Instead, they've left themselves vulnerable to the long route. They need to be dropping all of these guys back and just rush with 3. Instead, they go for the super risky all-out blitz, and the results are disastrous. It's not a particularly great throw by Cousins. He hangs this ball to the inside, and Ward has an excellent chance at his second interception of the game. And that's exactly the point. Even when this play works, it's still way too risky for the situation. All they had to do was stick everybody back deep. If that tackle's made in bounds, the half ends. There's simply no reason to rush the quarterback in that situation. In fact, you actually want to save that blitz for later in the game when it might be impactful. It's a colossally bad defensive play call. There's no explanation for it. Years and years of coaching, and the 49ers should have known better. Period, point blank, end of story. After that play, I turned to my wife, the lovely Mrs. Putnam, and I told her I did not think the 49ers were going to be able to come back and win this game. You've allowed a team playing at home to extend their lead and seize momentum right before the half. That's really tough to overcome. But the 49ers did do some good things in the second half, so let's move ahead to the third quarter. All right, here the 49ers are facing a 3rd down and 1, but before we take a look at this play, we're going to go back to 2019, Browns at 49ers, Week 5. And here the 49ers put George Kittle in motion. And they hand him the football, and he runs for the first down. By the way, I was at that game with the aforementioned lovely Mrs. Putnam. And here they run the same play again, and they pick up the first down. It was a long time coming, but the 49ers saved that play for when they would need it in an important spot, and they used it there. 2 plays later, though, something significant would happen. I've circled this. You can see they have 3 timeouts left, and it's 2nd down and 13, which is notable. So the 49ers would end up running out of time on the play clock, so they decide to call a timeout. Now, you don't really want to do that in the second half. You need all 3 of your timeouts for the end of the game, and this would have an impact at the end of the game. Furthermore, on 2nd down and 13, you don't really call that timeout unless you're expecting to pick up the yardage. And the 49er offense has been hot, so they could have picked it up. And their defense hasn't really been able to stop the Vikings, so I can understand why they would want to try to pick up that yardage. But I think that was another mistake made here to call that timeout in the second half. And let's take a look at what happened on the play. So we've seen 2 really bad mistakes by the coaches now, and here's a mistake by Brock Purdy, who realizes he's in trouble early on this play, and he's looking right at Christian McCaffrey. He needs to take this throw. Now, I get it. It's long yardage. He wants more on the play. But the thing is here, guys, it's 2nd down. They have 2 chances to pick up this 3rd down. He needs to get the ball to Christian McCaffrey, take what the defense gives him, and live with the result of the play. Instead, he tries to do a little too much. He tries to use his patented escape move, and he takes a bad sack in the process. So now the 49ers have wasted that timeout for no reason. On 3rd and long, they don't convert, and they punt back to the Vikings, who have that red-hot offense. Ouch. Back on defense, the 49ers double down, sending, I can't believe I'm saying this, an 8-man blitz on the play. So here the 49ers changed their approach. This time they only rush 4, and this allows them to have 2 safeties back deep. But here they drop Talanoa Hufanga down into the box. Why? Well, it might surprise you to learn that coming into this game, the Vikings' leading receiver was actually their tight end, TJ Hawkinson. So the 49ers are going to bracket him with Dre Greenlaw, at least initially. Tashawn Gibson has to rotate back as a single high safety now, and this leaves Mooney Ward one-on-one against Addison. And it's a good battle, but Addison wins this round. And I think that contact there was mutual. I disagree with the penalty on the play. Communication between quarterback and receiver. Cousins is expecting Madison to sit up, and instead Madison keeps running, and the pass falls incomplete. So the Vikings have to settle for yet another field goal, but the damage is done. They continue to extend their lead again, up 19-7 now. And the 49ers, if you're keeping track, have forced 0 punts in this game. They cannot get off the field. They cannot get a stop on defense. So the 49er offense has to keep pace. Let's go back to the snap. All right, another blitz, a 6-man blitz this time from Minnesota. And the 49ers leave Kyle Juszczyk in to help with pass protection, so the Vikings are afforded 1 safety back deep. Kittle runs away from him, and the Vikings are in the uncomfortable position of having to chase George Kittle all the way across the field with a linebacker. And the ball is right on the money. Yes, I am aware of what happened at the end, but man, Brock Purdy was dealing in this game. What do you need to throw the ball deep? Time. The 49ers are down multiple scores midway through the 3rd quarter, but they're driving. And this time, it's Minnesota's turn to take a gamble, sending the ultimate, the 0 blitz, an 8-man pressure. And once again, we see what a huge, tremendous risk this is, because there is nobody back deep to stop Christian McCaffrey once he breaks through the first level. Worth noting that the Vikings got 6 points on that end of half play. Without that, the 49ers would have had the lead right now, 14-13. As it stands, they trail 14-19, and they have to give the ball back to the Vikings after the score, who have been unstoppable so far in this game. But this time the Vikings are facing a 3rd down and 11, and the 49ers, they finally commit. They finally make the full adjustment. They drop 4 defenders back deep. They leave another 3 underneath. They defend the line to gain and only rush 4. As a result, there's only 1 receiver open, and he's way too far away to make an impact on the play. And the 49ers do come up with a stop. Sort of. They're going to try a really long field goal here, practically from the logo, to try to extend their lead further. That ball has to go a long way, and it is good. 55 yards from Greg Joseph, and the Vikings lead it now 22-14. The 49ers got to keep it going. Brock Purdy finds himself in some trouble again, but this time he takes the underneath throw to Jauan Jennings, and Jauan Jennings proves him right, making a man miss and gaining yardage on the play. And Kittle cashes in his free hug for National Tight Ends Day. And when Aaron Banks focuses his attention on the defensive tackle, it's Christian McCaffrey who has to make the block to save Brock Purdy's bacon, and he gets just enough of him to make this play work. And the point I keep hammering home about running backs having to pass protect is not a trivial one. All right, it's crunch time. We're in the 4th quarter now, and the teams have switched sides, but it's still the same drive. And once again, Brock Purdy is faced with some pressure, but he stays calm, buys time in the pocket, but keeps his eyes downfield, and then floats these little pinpoint passes on the run. Very impressive. Nice, very nice. And it's enough for the 49ers to get down into field goal range. The drive does stall, and this is also a long one. Again, just outside that logo, 54 yards this time. And the Vikings felt good about this kick with Greg Joseph, but the 49ers have a pretty major concern with their kicker, Jake Moody. Let's see if he's up to the task. Ball's got to go a long way, and he knocks it through. A clutch kick by Jake Moody, redeeming himself a little bit. It keeps the 49ers in the game in the 4th quarter, so I'd say so. 17-22 now. Vikings still with the lead, and the 49ers have yet to force a punt. But it is 3rd down and 4, and man, the 49ers need a stop now more than ever. And they're in there, put everybody up at the line of scrimmage and play press coverage defense, so the Vikings try to exploit that with a go route to the speedy KJ Osborne. Oh, incomplete, but that was close. And you know, I thought that the Vikings called a shot like that on 3rd down because they were intending on going for it on 4th down. And it was 4th and 4, and they're on the right side of the 50, and they're in that no man's land where it's too far to kick the field goal. So with a red-hot offense, I thought for sure they would just go for it in this scenario. But the Vikings coach calls for a short punt, and I thought that this was one of the few mistakes that the Vikings made on their side of the ball as far as the coaching staff was concerned. Now, as far as the punt goes, you don't want to kick it into the end zone because then the 49ers will get the ball at the 20. So you want to aim right for the in-between, right in the middle at that 10-yard line. The ball actually bounces at the 5-yard line and rolls into the end zone. So the 49ers are in business, and they start this drive off with an unusual play. We can see Brock Purdy looking right at Brandon Aiyuk, and he's got him for a 1st down right now. But the design of this play wasn't to get Brandon Aiyuk to the football. It was to get the defense to move, to open up the longer route for George Kittle. And here the 49ers are imprecise and the Vikings make a great defensive play. To start off with, we see Jauan Jennings is taking some contact. And are they within that 5-yard zone? Yes, they are. So I think this is probably legal. My problem with this is he does get redirected pretty significantly off his route. And then at the top, he takes this big step to the outside. And I understand what he's doing. He's putting a move on the defensive back. He's worried it's going to be a tighter throw. But the timing of the route has been thrown off. And I would like to see him in the future just go straight into it in that situation, because these routes are based on timing and landmarks. The timing of the route is off, and Jauan Jennings gets nowhere near where this ball is going to be thrown. Now turn your attention to the pocket. We see that Brock Purdy is taking some contact. He does not follow through properly on this football. I'm not excusing Purdy. I think Purdy needs to make a better throw here. The ball stays to the inside, and it is intercepted by the Vikings. That was a huge defensive play in this game. Watch Purdy does not step into this throw, and there was a lot that went wrong on that play for the 49ers and a lot that went right for the Vikings. So we've hit the 2-minute warning, and the Vikings have a 3rd down and 11, and the 49ers are going to have to come up with back-to-back stops here to preserve any sort of desperation chance at the win. And the Minnesota Vikings just run the ball, and that's the right strategy. The 49ers, you may have noticed, were out of timeouts, so the key here isn't yardage, it's time. The Vikings want to take time off the clock. That's what they do. Now they go for another long field goal. I thought, ironically, this was a situation where you should punt. Make the 49ers drive the entire length of the field with no timeouts to beat you. Instead, the field goal kick is missed, and now the 49ers actually get great field position. This was another significant mistake by the Vikings coaches. The Vikings have been relentlessly blitzing for the entire game, but here Minnesota also makes an adjustment, only rushing 4 and dropping everybody back deep. There are no long routes to throw the football to. Brock Purdy has to complete it underneath to Ray McCloud, who's going to get tackled inbounds, and the clock will run. And again, on the next play, check out the man defending Brandon Aiyuk. He's not going to give up the sideline or the end zone. He forces Aiyuk to go to the inside, and Aiyuk makes the catch, and that's okay. Once again, the clock runs. Brock Purdy spikes the ball to stop the clock, but now there's only 34 seconds left, and they're still on the 40. They have a long way to go. The absence of a timeout here is significant. They have really got to go for it. These are desperate moments now, and there's really nowhere to go with the football here. If Brock Purdy runs, he will get stopped in bounds, and the game will be over. So what do? Do you throw the ball away? Well, now you've just lost a bunch of time, and you still have to go 40 yards. It does look like there is the smallest of windows to Ray McCloud. In reality, the defender is in an excellent position here. Purdy gambles. He decides to try to loft this ball up to Ray McCloud, and the defender makes a spectacular catch to seal the game for the Minnesota Vikings. What a well-played game by the Vikings, and the 49ers are really going to be kicking themselves for all the errors they committed in this game. Look at that. That's how close it is in the NFL. Could Brock Purdy have gotten this ball to Jauan Jennings? I don't think so. You know, the defense really has the advantage in these situations. How many times, for example, have we seen Talanoa Hufanga do this to the opposing team when they're in a desperate situation? Usually it's the 49ers that are on the other side of that coin. But today was Minnesota's day. You got to give him the credit. I thought Brock Purdy, for the most part, played great. He did commit some significant errors that we looked at the end of the game here, and ultimately the 49ers as a team committed way too many errors. The coaching staff made some really inexcusable decisions, and the 49ers have a lot of soul searching to do. They have really got to take a look at themselves in the mirror. Last week they lost against Cleveland and they said, "Oh, we're good, we got it. This week they were humbled. This week facing a resurgent Cincinnati Bengals team that's coming off a bye. Yeah, that's right. The 49ers, off 6 days rest, are going to have to play the Bengals coming off a bye. It's going to be tough for them to make the corrections from this game and then prepare for the Cincinnati game. But you know what? The 49ers are an outstanding football team. Kyle Shanahan is an outstanding coach. Yes, they made mistakes. I believe the 49ers will get them corrected. They will sharpen because they have no choice, and they simply have too much talent for this to keep happening. And there's too much on the line, and they know it. But they've got to go out and actually do it on the football field. And this is why football is the greatest game ever invented. I cannot wait to see this game on Sunday. And that'll do it for this week on Josh's Football Breakdowns. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you were able to find some answers if you came here seeking some answers. And I have got to throw out an extra special thanks to those of you who have really helped to support the channel. You guys are absolutely incredible. It really does help me to take the time to do this right and give you the quality that you guys deserve, even in the face of a loss. I know I said all this last week, but you guys, honestly, you humble me and you honor me. I don't know what else to say. Thank you so much. It is truly, truly appreciated. You guys are huge difference makers. Thank you so much. All right, short week this week, so no Friday show. Let's just see what happens on Sunday. I don't know what's going to happen in that game, but you know, we will be here to break down that film, and I will see you guys then.